All right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and check this out, okay? Gareth Soloway is short in Bitcoin, apparently, into this current pump. So the more I see from this guy, the more this is becoming a meme to me. It's not really funny because he probably is going to cost people money, but I honestly think they might be training this guy to replace Jim Cramer. I think this might be the next Jim Cramer. Anyway, good luck shorting this pump. Hopefully by the end of this episode, you're going to see why everything is pointing towards this being an absolutely terrible idea. But I am sure it's deliberate from this guy at this point. We've also seen the likes of Capo capitulate and say, yeah, he was wrong about being bearish and short. We've seen Nick from DataDash also come out and capitulate. And so sometimes in Bitcoin, the funniest thing is also the most probable. And I think what would be funniest right now is if we dump, right? If we just roll over and it turns out that we are indeed going to get super bearish super quick and we are indeed going to have this big pullback, then, you know, these bears would have capitulated right before they turn out to be right. The bulls will have been euphoric into this entire pump only to be proven wrong. And it would just be Bitcoin, another day in the Bitcoin matrix, right? It's just what Bitcoin likes to do. Now, I personally, let me be really clear, I don't actually think that's very likely. I think this pump is for real. I think we're going to go a lot higher. And like I said, by the end of this episode, I'm pretty sure you're going to see why I have confidence in saying that. We saw a whale feeling FOMO and spot buying 6K Bitcoin. So that's pretty significant, isn't it? Also, we saw $43 million of inflows into Bitcoin yesterday, which is 10% of the entire year-to-date total in just a single day. And you can see this is why Bitcoin is doing so well of late. Now, keep in mind, this is pocket change in the TradeFi world. They are soon going to be importing billions into this space. So heaven only knows how high this thing is going to go. I'm becoming more and more confident that this last final blow-off top move in Bitcoin is coming to a currency pair near you. So just let me click through these, okay? Granted, these currencies are in a lot worse state than the likes of the euro, the pound, the dollar. But I do believe that this is what all Bitcoin charts are going to look like by the time this cycle has run its course. Now, maybe not as severe as this, okay, because this is the Lebanese pound, and of course, I don't need to say any more on that. But I do think a chart like this, a fifth wave like this, is probably unfolding. I do think that this cycle is going to play out like this, and it's going to catch the most people out. And the reason I'm so confident in saying that is the reason so many people in this latest neighborhood here, so many people are still calling for a retest because that's what we did in prior cycles, and we got to go to 10 or 12k. And the only reason really those people are calling for that is because they missed the entire move on the way up, right? They didn't get a position at the right time. They've missed this move, and so they're hoping and praying they can get back in lower. But from here, the majority of the market, right? First of all, the majority of the market hasn't arrived, but of the market participants that are currently paying attention to Bitcoin, most of those, right, are not in the situation where they accumulated a position here and are now sitting here watching it ride. Most people are in the position where they didn't believe this was the bottom. They've missed out on all of this move, and therefore the next portion of this rally is likely the most pain. Watching them sit out and go, no, we got to come back. That's what we always did in the past. We always base, we always retest the lows. Everyone sitting there thinking that that is going to happen will be euphoric, will be ecstatic, will be over the moon with the ability to buy back down in this neighborhood. But what if we don't give it to them? What if instead we just send this thing to new all-time highs, just like any one of these charts that I've just clicked through here, and the charts start to look a lot more like this? That is how you end up forcing people to capitulate at the top. That is how retail gets forced into the market above the prior all-time high. That is how they're forced to buy the top. And of course, that is how markets end up topping, with retail buying the top, having sold the bottom. There's more comedy in the Bitcoin space because of this whole DTCC thing. Now, if we're honest, no one knew what this thing was before a day or two ago, myself included, right? No one ever paid attention to this. And the website got so much traffic in the past couple of days that it started to crash and block people in a DDoS type prevention mechanism. After the iShares IBTC ticker for BlackRock got added, it was then rumored to be removed. And since then, not only is it back, but they've also added ARK ETF tickers as well. So something big is definitely brewing here. It's also funny that the DTCC spokesperson said that the ETF has actually been on there since August. The ETF ticker has been on there since August, and you can see that if you want to pause your screen and read this. But as I often say, okay, the chart is the truth. The facts are the facts, the data is the data, and the chart is the truth. Nothing else matters. Nothing you read in the news matters. Nothing anyone says or no one's opinion mean anything. All of these influencers that stay bearish and short all the way up or whatever, nothing means anything apart from the truth. The truth is the chart, and that is all that matters. right now, this current setup is exactly the same to this bottom, right? It's exactly the same as back here. And people like Gareth Soloway are telling you to short this move up here. Now, of course, it's a market, anything can happen, and that includes rolling over. But look at this setup, okay? Data is data, charts are charts, and the chart is, of course, the truth. Not only that, more truth, more data. Tightest monthly compression since 2016, even stronger than 2020, okay? Historic compression precedes historic expansion. More data, more truth, because the weekly RSI for Bitcoin is giving us confirmation of an impulse. Notice how any non-impulse tops never get to make it above 70 on the weekly RSI. Only extreme phases of impulsive buying behavior do. So the only time we get this setup right here is when we start to go parabolic, when we start to go parabolic, when we start to go parabolic. Again, more charts, more truth, more data pointing to imminent upside. And if you think this last couple of days has been crazy, it is nothing compared to what we could probably going to see in the coming weeks. The biggest moves occur on RSI pushes into overbought territory on higher time frames, starting with the weekly. We are just getting warmed up. You can see that there. We are just about pushing into weekly RSI overbought territory, but that does not mean it's a sell signal and what comes next is this, does it? What it actually means is we are likely going to remain heavily overbought on the weekly time frame for a very long time whilst this parabola unfolds and we repeat this type of price action. Bitcoin is even showing relative outperformance to the stock market now. This is the Bitcoin priced in the S&P 500, and as you can see, confirming a breakout now. Confirming a breakout on the monthly time frame. Again, the chart is the truth, data is data. I've shown this before and I'll continue to show it again. Whilst everyone thinks it's the halving that drives the bull market, and whilst that may well be a contributing factor, the likelihood is that this is a liquidity driven market. It is entirely liquidity driven based. And if we look at this, okay, right here, as the liquidity cycle flips bullish, Bitcoin enters a parabola. Same here, 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 here. And of course, we made this tick to bullish months ago. Again, all signs are pointing to imminent further upside for Bitcoin. One possible headwind that I see for Bitcoin at the moment is this dollar index, okay? Note how the dollar, looking to break out, now could easily reject here, but undeniably, if we start closing daily candles above this downward sloping red resistance line, then we do indeed have a DXY breakout. Why is this happening? Well, because the euro dollar, remember the euro makes up 57% of the dollar basket, is somehow pulling down, okay? Now, all the while these lows hold, all the while we remain in this uptrend, there is still scope to see the euro dollar outperform and thus the Dixie roll over. But if this thing doesn't start to follow my red squiggle pretty sharpish, then what we're going to see is the dollar continue to follow through on the DXY basket. Of course, if we do get a move like this out of the dollar, then that will likely pressure risk in the short to medium term. Bitcoin is still doing Bitcoin things, isn't it? It's still behaving exactly as expected. And a lot of people like to say this is a news-driven market. A lot of people like to say, yeah, it's just an ETF pump. It's not. It's not doing anything out of the ordinary, okay? If we go back and look at all these cycle lows, this is exactly what we usually see out of a cycle low, especially after a compression, a sideways consolidation cycle. Just like here, explosive move, right? Find a cycle low, explosive move. Bit more consolidation, explosive move, consolidation, explosive move. This thing is doing nothing out of the ordinary, and I still think 42k comes pretty quickly right here. So there's nothing more to say apart from long and strong continue to push. For those of you that care about the XRP trade, here it is. I don't have anything else to say about it, to be honest. And the crypto-related equities, look, big gap up yesterday. Let's zoom in a bit so we can see what's going on. Big gap up, huge red candle, almost $90 for Coinbase. It makes sense we had to come back and fill the little gap. We've done that. So now we could probably resume to the upside. So again, long and strong continue to push. Same kind of deal for MicroStrategy, not filled the gap, but this may well just gap and go. There's no reason why it couldn't do that. Riot, again, moving up, back above this major horizontal level in blue. So happy days there. And of course, Marathon, gapping up, kind of half backfilling that gap. There's still a little gap below. Maybe it will fill that today in the open and then resume. Again, long and strong continue to push. And the stock market, this is technically a failed cycle, okay? We did technically breach the lows, perhaps not on a closing basis, but we have certainly breached the lows. So it tells us that for the remainder of this 40-day cycle, we should expect further downside at least. Now, the caveat to that is always a chance that this was a wick and we're going to continue to push up here and break out. And if we do, then of course we get long on the breakout. But for now, I'm kind of staying out of the way of this. I think this is a very individual stock pickers market at the moment. This is certainly not a broad spec rally. It's the exact same analysis, copy and pasted onto the NASDAQ and onto the Dow. So if this is a double bottom, happy days, and we break out, we'll get long. But again, I'm not in any rush here to add these positions just yet. Here's gold. So this is probably working on a drop into a cycle low, or at least a half cycle low. That's probably the half cycle low there. And then what we're looking for, about 24 days for a cycle low. So yeah, maybe we can do something like this. Yeah, this yellow line is probably not far off, actually. I'll leave that like it is. That's kind of what I expect. And then out of there, we could start working our way up. But something that is spurious, and I said this before, the silver trade, right? Look, silver's not outperforming. I would have kind of expected this to be up here by now, and it isn't. So that is kind of that's a mini red flag, in my opinion, and in my experience. Also, look at this miner position, right? The reason I played miners, not spot, was because I thought miners should outperform if this gold pump is for real. But as you can see, this is hanging right around break even, and I would have been way better off playing the breakout retest resumption, something like this, right? So this again speaks to something being off with this gold move, something maybe not being fully for real about this gold move. I'm somewhat hesitant to say that this gold move is for real. And I also think once we find this cycle low, it'd be important not to sweep that low. Otherwise that opens up further downside. And that is kind of what the silver and the miners is suggesting, right? So gonna need to let this unfold. I'm not 100% confident in this move or anywhere close to it, but I'll continue to cover it for those of you that are interested. Here's that oil short as well. It's kind of a messy chart, but you can hopefully see what's going on here. We are now breaking down below this parallel line, okay? So we don't really need this because the trade is breakdown, retest, resumption, move the stop to break even, breakdown, retest, looking for that resumption. So still kind of assuming that this is what's coming. But again, it's oil, anything can happen. Oil is probably one of the top 3 most manipulated markets on the planet. Now, that is not me making an excuse, okay? If I get stopped out, I was just wrong. But the facts are the facts. This is a highly manipulated market, and so this really could go either way. It's difficult to have a firm and solid read on this. Of course, all markets are manipulated. Like I said, this is not an excuse. This is just, it is what it is. I'm not super confident, and this really could go either way at the moment. For now, though, I continue to remain short, and I continue to expect this red squiggle to play out. And once we've done that, I think we may even be able to do this now. Could probably set some kind of exit signal line, and if we break above that, then perhaps we can look at covering the short. So I'll leave this here. I'm going to get rid of the squiggle because the squiggle's messy. We kind of know, if as I'm short, right, we know we're targeting lower numbers, and we'll keep an eye on this red line. And if we start to close daily candles outside of that, I think we could probably cover the short. I do still expect it though to bleed down a lot lower, and I know that is not a very popular idea, but that makes me like it even more, to be frank. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you're doing well in life. I hope you're enjoying some nice crypto and Bitcoin gains. I hope you're not getting suckered into too many scam altcoin pumps, and that you're focused on the future of humanity and freedom, which is Bitcoin. So as ever, we stay patient. We keep looking for the charts to explain to us and to tell us what is going to happen. And then we will make calculated minimal risk decisions based upon this. In the meantime, I've been saying for a while, haven't I? There's a time to be out the market. That was just recently. There's a time to be in the market. Clearly, we are pretty much there now, and we're almost fully exposed again. And then there's a time to go fishing. That time to go fishing for me is probably next week. I'm getting ready to go fishing. I'm planning some fishing trips. So, like I said, there's a time to be out the market, there's a time to be in the market, and there's a time to go fishing. I think right now it's a time to be in the market, and then we're getting ready to put our feet up on the desk and go fishing for the end of the year. Hopefully we can get those rallies to all-time highs that I've been calling for. As ever, all we can do is accept that the only thing I know is I don't know, and we'll take it one day at a time. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.